Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a subject that's, well, a fundamental aspect of human sexuality but often remains in the shadows. Anal sex. We're not just skimming the surface, we're plunging into the ultimate guide to anal sex for women. Our goal is to bring you the core insights on pleasure, safety, and even the emotional landscape of this intimate act. Think of this as your shortcut to getting informed on a topic that's probably far more common than you might think.
Yeah, and what's immediately striking about this guide is just how thorough it is. It doesn't, tiptoe around anything. It takes you from the very basics of anatomy and how to prepare, through different techniques, the role toys can play, and crucially, what you need to know to stay healthy. It even shines a light on those persistent myths and the psychological factors that often shape our understanding of anal eroticism. The author's clearly done their homework, acknowledging pioneers in sex-positive work and thanking researchers who helped out.
Exactly. And our mission for you today, our listener, is to pull out the essential knowledge from this guide. We want to demystify anal sex, tackle those misconceptions you might have heard, and give you a solid, judgment-free foundation if you're curious. We're aiming to keep it clear, concise, and, in the spirit of the book, open and direct. So this is definitely a topic with some baggage for many people. Where does the book suggest we even begin unpacking all that?
Well, a really logical first step, as the book lays it out, is to face some of those long-held myths head-on. These are often based more on discomfort or lack of info rather than reality, and they can really limit how you think about what's possible and pleasurable. Take myth number one, the idea that anal sex is somehow unnatural or immoral.
That's a big one, isn't it? It feels like a very old idea.
It does.
Wow.
But the book just directly counters this. It presents anal eroticism simply as another valid, natural way humans experience sexual pleasure.
So it really just comes down to what feels good and what everyone involved consents to.
Precisely. And if you think about it, a lot of these ideas about what's natural in sex are really shaped by culture and anxieties, not some inherent truth about our bodies. Then there's myth number two, this notion that only certain kinds of people engage in it.
Yeah, that always seemed so narrow-minded.
Right. And the book challenges this effectively. It even shares a quick story about the author's friend trying it and liking it. It highlights that this isn't some niche thing for a specific group. It's likely way more common across the board than people realize. All sorts of orientations and identities.
It's just part of the huge spectrum of human sexuality, really.
Exactly. There's no single type of person exploring any particular sexual act.
Okay, moving on to myth number three, which claims the anus and rectum just aren't designed to be erogenous zones.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting because the book actually digs into the biology here. It explains that the anus and rectum are packed with nerve endings, making them highly sensitive.
So stimulation, whether it's touch or penetration, can be incredibly pleasurable. It can even lead to orgasm for both men and women.
And what's key here, connecting this to sexual response generally, is how interconnected things are. For women, stimulation there can also engage the G-spot and perineum, kind of amplifying pleasure. And for men, the prostate gland, which is right there internally, becomes a major source of pleasure through anal stimulation.
Right, it's all part of the same system, essentially.
Yeah, the book even mentions another guide, the New Good Vibrations Guide to Sex, reminding us the anus participates in the same arousal and orgasm responses as genitals.
That's a really important point. Okay, then we have myth number four, that anal sex is inherently dirty and messy. I think this is a major worry for a lot of people.
Absolutely, it's a common concern. But the book tackles this directly by emphasizing hygiene and, thoughtful preparation. This includes thorough cleaning, yes, but also thinking about bowel management beforehand. It even discusses enemas as an option if someone's interested.
Taking proactive steps, basically.
Exactly, addressing those concerns up front.
Which leads us nicely to, I think it was myth number 7 in the book, that anal sex is always painful for the receiver. This is probably the biggest hurdle for many.
And the book is crystal clear on this. It says with genuine desire, relaxation, which is so key, open communication, trust, and plenty of lubrication. Anal sex can be not just pain-free, but genuinely arousing and orgasmic.
But pain means stop.
Absolutely. The crucial insight is that pain is a signal. Stop. Don't push through it. That can lead to injury and just create bad associations for the future.
So it really sounds like setting the right conditions, listening to your body, and that open dialogue are foundational. Okay, let's move past these myths now and talk about the basics, as the book puts it, our asses ourselves. What's the essential anatomy we should know?
The book is a really helpful overview. You've got the anus itself, the external opening. That's surrounded by two sphincter muscles. There's the external one, which you can actually learn to control, and the internal one, which works automatically. And then you also have the PC muscles involved in control and sensation too.
Right, so that's the outside bit. What about internally?
Internally, you have the anal canal. It's pretty short, maybe 1 to 2 inches long, but incredibly sensitive. The tissue lining it is similar to clitoral or penile tissue, meaning it can get engorged with blood during arousal. This allows it to expand, but only when those sphincter muscles are relaxed. If there's tension, penetration gets difficult, potentially painful.
Makes sense.
And beyond the anal canal is the rectum. It's longer, about 5 inches more expandable, and it has some natural curves. The book points out these curves are a key reason why going slowly and patiently during penetration is so important. You have to respect the body's shape, not force things.
Gotcha. And are there significant anatomical differences between men and women here that matter?
The basic anal anatomy is pretty much the same, but the guide does point out some important connections to other erogenous zones. For women, the G-spot on the front wall of the vagina can sometimes be stimulated indirectly during rear entry vaginal sex, and some women find this happens with anal sex too.
Interesting.
And for men, the prostate gland. It sits just a few inches inside the anal canal, towards the front. It can be a really significant pleasure spot when stimulated anally. Usually responds better to gentle, sustained pressure rather than quick movements.
So understanding this layout really informs how you might approach things. Now, we touched on preparation when discussing the cleanliness myths. What specific steps does the book recommend?
Prep, as the book explained it, has a few layers. It starts with basic hygiene. Keep fingernails short and smooth. Avoid accidental scratches.
Good point.
Clean hands, clean tools, very important. Wash with hot water, antibacterial soap. For toys, it suggests thorough cleaning, maybe even disinfection with stuff like betadine, hydrogen peroxide, diluted bleach, or specific sex toy
We've
cleaner.
had condoms on toys, right?
Yeah, condoms on toys are another good way to keep things hygienic.
Okay, and then the clean butt and empty bowels part to tackle that dirty myth. What does the book say?
Right. So the book notes that with normal hygiene, the anus is usually pretty clean, but some people just feel more comfortable taking extra steps. That's where enemas come in. The guide talks about different types, bath, bag, shower attachments, explaining how they work. But it stresses using them carefully, following instructions. It specifically warns against using, like, turkey viseries or weird liquids.
Oh, wow, okay.
Or sharing equipment, or overdoing it, which can mess with your natural bowel function.
So enemas aren't required, but they're an option some people choose.
Exactly. It's presented as an option, not a necessity for safe, enjoyable anal sex.
Okay, so those are the physical preparations. But the book also gets into the mental and emotional side of this kind of intimacy, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. There's a whole section called Beyond Our Bodies that focuses on these crucial elements. It highlights several key things. First, mutual desire. Both partners have to genuinely want to do this.
Makes sense.
Then, open, honest communication. Not just in the moment, but before and after too. Talking about desires, fantasies, and importantly, any fears or worries.
Fears on both sides, I imagine. Receiver worried about pain, inserter worried about causing pain.
Precisely. Addressing those fears openly, clearing up misinformation that's vital for creating a comfortable, trusting space. Managing expectations is also really important. The book points out real-life anal sex isn't like porn.
Right.
It's usually gradual, not instant deep penetration. Patience is essential. Let the body adjust. Presence, too, being fully there, tuned in to your partner. And finally, trust and power dynamics. Because it's intimate, sometimes taboo, feelings of vulnerability or control can get amplified. So clear boundaries, mutual respect, making sure everyone feels safe and empowered, that's paramount.
That makes perfect sense, building that foundation of comfort and trust on all levels. Okay, let's talk about the tools of the trade, as the book calls them. What are the essentials?
The guide focuses on a few key things for safer, more pleasurable experiences. First up, latex. This is basically non-negotiable for safer sex, a crucial barrier against STDs, HIV, even bacteria. It discusses condoms, latex preferred over animal skin, maybe avoid ribbed ones for anal use,
Okay.
female condoms for more coverage, dental dams for oral anal contact, and latex gloves for hygiene, especially switching between activities.
Right, like double gloving you mentioned.
Yeah, the book mentions that as a way to transition smoothly between activities while staying protected.
So latex is about the barrier. What's next?
Lubricants, absolutely essential. The book hammers this home.
Yeah.
The anus and rectum don't self-lubricate like the vagina. So lube isn't just for comfort. It's necessary to prevent friction, which can damage tissue and break down latex barriers.
Got it. What kinds does it cover?
It breaks them down. Water-based liquid lubes, easy cleanup, mimic natural fluids but can dry out faster. Water-based thicker lubes last longer, often preferred for anal play. And oil-based lubes, very long-lasting, but, and this is critical, they degrade latex. So only for solo play or partners not using barrier methods for penetration.
Okay, big warning there. Oil-based and latex condoms for anal penetration are a no-go.
Definitely. Water-based is the way to go with latex.
What about toys? The book mentions a few.
Yes, it covers several common ones. Butt plugs, for that feeling of fullness. Vibrators, noted as potentially great for prostate stimulation in men. Dildos, for in and out penetration. Various materials like silicone, latex, vinyl, but porous jelly toys need a condom for hygiene.
Good tip.
It also suggests curved dildos might follow the rectal curve better, maybe more comfortable. And anal beads latex or plastic on a string, with a crucial warning. Never use objects without a string or flared base that could get lost inside.
Right. Retrievability is key.
Absolutely. Smooth, flexible, clean, and retrievable. That's the advice for all anal toys.
So options depending on the sensation you're after. Now, the book also talks about analingus, or rimming. What are the key points there?
The guide describes it as stimulating the anal area with the mouth and tongue licking, flicking, sucking. It highlights that because of all those nerve endings, even gentle stimulation can be surprisingly pleasurable for many. If you're curious, it suggests starting slow, exploring the buttocks first, then gradually moving towards the anus, paying attention to reactions.
And the safe for sex aspect seems like a potential concern.
Definitely. The book is clear. Without a barrier, rimming is high risk for STD/HIV transmission, especially outside a tested monogamous relationship. It strongly recommends barriers. Dental dams, plastic wrap, unlubricated condoms cut open, or cut latex gloves.
Okay.
It also advises rinsing with mouthwash after rimming without a barrier before any other oral contact to help reduce bacteria spread.
Gotcha. Barriers are key for safer oral anal play. Okay, let's move to what many think of as the core, anal penetration. The book looks at it from both sides, inserter and receiver. Let's start with the inserter.
Okay, for the inserter, the book emphasizes several fundamentals. Always go slowly and gently. Force has no place. Constant communication is vital. Check in regularly. How does that feel? Progression should be at the receiver's pace. Ultimately, they should feel in control.
Start small.
Yes, start with one well-lubricated finger. Let the anus adjust and relax. It mentions the winking reflex you might see with gentle touch. Really listen to verbal and nonverbal cues. Let your partner guide the insertion. It's all about building and maintaining that trust.
And for the person receiving, what's their role in making it positive?
For the receiver, relaxation is number one. The anus naturally tenses up, especially with anxiety, so conscious relaxation is crucial. Taking responsibility for communicating desires, boundaries, feelings, that's key too. They're in control. Being aware of their own body, those sphincters, consciously releasing tension there, and of course lots of lube and finding a comfy, relaxing position.
Speaking of positions, the book describes several and how they adapt for anal sex. What are some highlights?
It covers familiar ones. Missionary, receiver on back, can feel like surrendering for some, but good for communication and adding other stimulation. Receiver on top gives them control over angle and depth. Good for clitoral stimulation too.
Okay.
Doggy style often allows deeper penetration, straighter rectal angle, easy clitoral access, and spooning, or reverse spooning, lying on sides, comfortable, less intense, good for long, slow sessions, different body sizes. Maybe not the deepest penetration, though.
And basically any vaginal position can be adapted.
Yeah, the book makes that helpful point. With some adjustments, most positions work.
So sounds like experimenting and communicating is key to finding what works best. Now, the book also delves into the more advanced practice of anal fisting. What's the overview?
Anal fisting is presented as, a more advanced, intense form of anal penetration. Given that, the book really emphasizes that safer sex practices are even more critical here than with standard penetration.
And what specific safety measures does it highlight for fisting?
Copious amounts of thick lube. For experienced folks, oil-based is often preferred because it lasts longer, though the latex warnings still apply if relevant. Crisco gets mentioned as a common cheap option, with a note about hygiene if sharing the container.
Okay.
Protective gloves are essential for non-monogamous partners, protecting both people from microorganisms and abrasions. Latex is usually recommended. It even suggests changing gloves every 15-20 minutes to minimize tiny tear risks. Rinsing powdered gloves helps avoid irritation.
Any other protection mentioned?
It mentions the controversial use of non-oxynol 9 inside the glove for the inserter, but cautions it can irritate rectal tissue. Some people double glove or use heavier household rubber gloves for more protection and reach.
So safety is absolutely paramount. What about the how-to for those interested in exploring this very carefully?
The book stresses a very gradual approach. Start with external stimulation, slowly progress towards penetration. Always let the receiver guide things. Work up through fingers slowly, lots of lube at each step. Once inside, allow plenty of time for adjustment. Navigate the rectal curve gently. And constant, clear communication about movement, pressure, sensation is absolutely essential.
And the receiver's role during fisting.
They're in complete control. Pay super close attention to body signals, no personal limits, communicate them clearly and immediately. Don't push through significant discomfort. Rest if needed. Stop whenever needed. Listening to your body is the main guide.
And aftercare. What might someone expect?
Yes, the guide mentions some soreness, maybe gas, looser stools, slight spotting, but these should resolve within about 24 hours. It advises against enemas right after, as tissues might be sensitive. Eating and drinking something afterwards is good.
But see a doctor if...
Absolutely. Seek medical attention for persistent bleeding, severe pain, fever, or feeling generally unwell. Don't ignore those signs.
The book also briefly touches on SM and gender play, potentially integrating with anal sex.
Yeah, just briefly. It acknowledges that for some, the power dynamics of SM, or exploring gender roles, can intertwine with anal eroticism, adding layers of intensity and pleasure through control, surrender, breaking norms, that sort of thing.
Okay. Finally, let's cover the crucial topic of anal health. Key takeaways here.
The book tackles the myth that anal sex inherently causes health problems. It actually suggests safe, gradual practice might even improve muscle tone there. It explains temporary sensations like needing to poop or looser stools afterwards are usually short-lived. The main message: know your body, seek medical help for persistent or worrying symptoms.
And the connection to STIs, a serious concern.
Definitely. The book stresses everyone should know their whole anatomy: vagina, clitoris, breasts, and rectum, and be proactive about medical attention for anything unusual. It highlights that STIs can be asymptomatic, especially in women, making regular checkups vital. That includes pelvic exams and, specifically for those having anal sex, rectal exams.
And it discusses specific STIs.
Yes, it goes over several common ones transmissible via anal sex: anal warts, HPV, hepatitis A and B, genital herpes, rectal gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, basic info on symptoms and treatment.
And lastly, the critical topic of HIV and AIDS in this context.
The guide explains HIV transmission via bodily fluids, higher concentrations in blood and semen. It notes that statistically, women contract HIV more easily from men during intercourse, including anal, due to tissue susceptibility and higher viral load in semen. It also points out transmission between women via unprotected oral digital stimulation or shared toys is possible, though less common, for drug use remains the highest risk route overall.
So the bottom line is safer sex.
Absolutely. The crucial message is consistent practice of safer sex methods to prevent HIV transmission.
So we've covered a huge amount of ground in this deep dive into the ultimate guide to anal sex for women. What are the most critical takeaways for our listeners?
I think the most important thing is understanding that anal sex can be safe, pleasurable, even emotionally fulfilling. But it requires accurate information, open communication, mutual respect, and careful attention to physical and emotional well-being. Challenging those ingrained taboos and myths really opens up possibilities for exploration and maybe deeper intimacy.
And for listeners wanting to go even deeper, the book itself sounds like a fantastic resource.
Absolutely. The Ultimate Guide to Anal Sex for Women is packed with more info, further reading, publications, shopping guides for toys and supplies, sex info resources, websites. It really encourages you to dig into specific areas that spark your interest today.
So to leave you with a final thought, dear listener, considering the deep layers of societal taboo around anal sex, what other aspects of our sexuality might be similarly misunderstood, maybe underexplored or unfairly stigmatized? Could that be limiting your experiences, your understanding of yourself, your desires, something worth pondering? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.